welcome back to the couple that pods together. My name's Kelsey.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite video games, Mass Effect.
Indeed. As for the why, you can check out our first podcast, where we explain a little bit why we really got into this and why we both love it so much.
But the short story of it is it's basically one of the first games Chris ever introduced me to, and he loved it, I loved it, and then it just kind of became a big part of what we like to do in our lives and whatnot.
So we're going to be limiting this one to Mass Effect 1, the first game in the series.
Right.
We're planning on doing a podcast on each of the trilogy.
And potentially other ones that focus on other overarching themes.
Yes.
And not just keeping it just to the one games, because I feel like there's a lot to talk about aside from just here's what happens in game 1, here's what happens in game 2, here's what happens in game 3.
For sure. And I just wanted to get that out of the way to say there will be spoilers for Mass Effect 1 on this podcast.
We will try not to spoil anything for Mass Effect 2 or 3 while talking about this.
Right.
Sorry if we end up...
Sorry if we do.
Sorry if we do. We're going to try not to. Sometimes things bleed together.
So the first couple things that I wanted to talk about was just the general world building. Basically, how the in-universe it gets kicked off is humanity starts exploring the stars. We go to Mars, and we find a mass relay. Basically an artifact of alien origin that propels us into the galaxy at large. Which is a very interesting way of introducing sci-fi elements, I think. This idea that, like, I know a lot of people have done it before, but the idea that, like, you're not the first person here. You're not the first race here. Humanity is just sort of following in the footsteps of someone else.
Yeah, I do like that about Mass Effect in general, is that humans are not the first people to discover, like, space travel.
Right.
And nor are they, like, close second or anything. They are kind of the newer species to make their way into, like, the universal, or whatever you want to call it. They're the big space community.
I like to call it the galactic stage.
There you go. I was going to say global, but that doesn't make sense when we're talking about, like, other worlds.
Yeah, I've heard galactic stage mostly be used in Mass Effect because of this concept that humanity, as of the games, we're the last to arrive.
Yeah.
There is not a newer species to the Citadel, to the Council at large, than humanity. And it's really short, too. It's only like 25 years.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, because we're going to get into talking about, like, the characters that make up your squad and everything. One of those characters, Ashley, I believe she talks about how her grandfather was in, like, this big war with one of the other species, the Turians.
Yep. It was Ashley's grandfather was in the First Contact War.
Yeah, the First Contact War. So when, obviously, First Contact, meaning first time we make contact with other aliens and other alien species, and it happens to be the Turians. And it did not go great.
No. It kicked off real quick, but I think once that settles down and where the game picks up, I find so interesting in a world-building sense is that humans are effectively second-rate citizens.
Right.
Which most fiction is like, well, whenever they have multiple races in play, they're like, multiple species in play, they're like, well, humans, like, we're the best. We're gonna be on top no matter what. But Mass Effect dared to say, no, we just got here, and everyone else is kind of looking down on us for it.
Right.
Several people comment on the fact that humanity wants too much too fast.
Oh, exactly, because when you start the game, uh, there's like a council. It's kind of and it's only made up of three people, and it's the top three races. The
Right.
like they're the ones that like control most of it. There's a ton of different races in the world, the universe, game and everything, but a lot of them don't have a council spot.
Yeah.
Yet humans are like they're vying for one. They're like arguing and saying, "No, we deserve to be on the council seat," and the rest of them are looking at them, going like, "What the fuck do you mean?"
Yeah.
Excuse my language. You just got here. Like, you know nothing.
Right.
Like, stop acting like you know anything.
So I think that's a good place. I know that was kind of a crash course in kind of the world building of Mass Effect, but I think that's a good place to pick up on the plot, where the game starts.
Right. Yeah.
Because basically, as soon as you pick up the controller, they're like, "Hey, your character is being considered to be a Spectre," and that is a big deal, because that is like the elite of the elite. You are a super cop who is given full jurisdiction to do pretty much whatever you want across the galaxy, and that's a pretty big badge to have for a race that wants more responsibility. They want a seat at the table.
And yeah, that's a big deal. So I'm gonna jump a little bit here and just say you find out that this is not the first time humans have been given this option in Shepard.
Yeah,
Your captain, Captain Anderson, was given that honor first, and he did not make it.
he was given the opportunity.
Or the
Yes,
opportunity. Well, right.
which
That's what I'm saying. Like, he was given
yeah,
the opportunity, but he was basically deemed not fit.
right, and it's depending on who you ask, there are different reasons for why that happened. There was some bad blood between him and the Spectre, who you are, who was watching him, who you find out is Saren Arterius.
Yeah, so, like, just the fact that they're giving humans another shot at
Right.
this whole thing is a big deal, especially, like, kind of soon after. Because
Yeah.
it's not like a lot of time has passed since. I mean, it's not like it's only been a couple of years, but it's still like it's a big deal that they're already making that consideration again,
Right.
especially because some of these races live so long.
Yeah.
That's like that's kind of crazy that they're giving you that option.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's basically where you start, and you're basically told, hey, you are being looked at as being a specter, which is a big deal for the human race. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, it's a big deal, don't mess it up.
Very much so. There's
Uh,
a ton of pressure on your shoulders for that.
and you basically have someone who is watching you to make sure that you are fit for this, and that person is Nihilus.
Nihilus. And you can explore through dialogue immediately how you're like, why, Nihilus, why do you care? Like, why are you sponsoring humans? Like, are you up to something? Like, I thought, why are you pushing for the advancement of the human race? And he straight up says, he's like, we don't all hate humans. Like, I know a lot of us do, but I don't, and I think like he's all for humanity having a seat at the table, and it starts with having a Spectre. Spectre stands for Special Tactics and Reconnaissance, and that is basically like because the galaxy is so vast, it allows the council, basically the ultimate authority in the galaxy, to police a very large area if a Spectre is the law wherever they go. So there's one bit of world building that I really like, and it's in the first like 5 minutes of the game.
I like how you
And
call it world building.
it is because it's so interesting, and it makes like The first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have no idea what that means," and that's what I love about it. When you get the recording, the distress call from Eden Prime, you're basically watching this squad of soldiers get wiped out by something you don't see, and then there's a giant ship that's like in lightning, and it's absolutely insane. But it cuts back to Nihilus, and his mandibles twitch, and nothing else on his face changes, but like his little side mandibles, his little Turian mandibles, just to like flip out for a second, and it just made me go, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what the expressions mean for this race, and that's awesome. That's terrifying, because I don't know if he's like, does that mean he's happy? Like, is he cheering for this secretly? Does that mean that he's terrified? Like, is it just confusion? I don't know. And it's such a small moment that I love so much.
So now playing through the games, what do you think it means?
I think he's confused because it doesn't make sense. Like, everyone talks about this mission as just being, it's a simple shakedown run. It's just a test to see how Shepard operates, and nothing was even supposed to happen. So the fact that he's seeing all this carnage, I think he's just going, I don't know what I'm looking at here.
So you think his expression is merely going, huh?
Basically, yeah.
I don't agree with that myself, but
What do you think it means then?
I think he sees that and is just like, I don't think he's, I mean, yes, I think he's confused as to what's going on, but I don't think it's like confusion as just like a, wonder what that is. I feel like it's more of a, dread is not quite the word, like it's like, but kind of, like
It's
he
yeah, like it's
is
more of like a
picturing,
jaw clench or like
yes,
swallowing. Yeah,
yes,
like
it's
kind of
like,
stealing yourself.
yeah, it's the, this is not what is expected. This is probably a dangerous situation we're going into. And like almost having to prepare himself. And I wouldn't call that confusion. I would just call that like he's stealing himself.
Yeah, okay. I
And
like
he's
that.
like he's not happy about what happened. He's very much going kind of like, "Oh crap.
Yeah.
This could be really bad."
There is, and again, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but there's a character that is not human later in the series that they assigned facial expressions to, and that their face is configuring. So, like, their face moves and shifts, and those mean certain expressions, but, like, we don't have a guide telling us what that is. So it's cool that, like, the developers were like, oh, this is what this race does when they are confused or when they are happy. And they, it's not like there's a guide out there. They didn't give those notes to the player. It's just like, oh,
Right.
they are emoting, even if you don't know what that means.
Yeah. Who is that character, by the way?
It's Legion.
Oh, okay. But speaking of different races communicating, one of my favorite races that is, they never come on mission. They're not like people you can add to your, they're just like background characters to for world building purposes, but it's the Elcor.
Yeah.
Strictly because they don't have emotion, like they don't have a facial anything, so to convey
Right.
their emotions or how they're feeling, they just state it before
Uh,
speaking.
they actually, in order to convey emotion, they have pheromones that only
Oh.
only other Elcor can pick up.
So the stating of their emotion is purely for other people's benefit.
Correct.
That's amazing.
So they will say like with melancholy, like blah 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 blah. Like they will
But they
state
always talk like they have
they,
melancholy, so you need to
yeah,
pick a different emotion to say it, because now it just
with
sounds
great
like,
joy,
with
I'm happy
great
for you.
joy,
Yeah, like they
I
state
am
their
very
emotion
happy.
before they say anything so that you know their general tone because everything sounds super depressed.
Yeah. I think there's one, I forget which game it's in, not that it's like spoilers for any of the other games, but I think there's a game where they talk about they're putting on like a stage production of it. Like, I feel like isn't it Romeo and Juliet that they're
It's
putting on?
it's in Mass Effect 2. You can see an ad for it while you're going around the Citadel, and it's for Elcor Hamlet.
Oh, Elcor Hamlet, yeah.
And they say it takes like 9 hours to perform.
I'd watch it.
I would too. It
I,
sounds
I would watch
amazing.
that so hard.
I mean, I'm a sucker for Hamlet anyway, but
Now, what emotion do you put with to be or not to be? Inquisitive. Inquisitively.
yeah, inquisitive, pondering mortality. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
very
sure
complex.
someone's probably written the script for it, and I wanna see that. I want to just read it
It's
as
so
if it
good.
were Elcor. Anyway, that was a little bit of a tangent, but I figured since we were
Yeah,
still on world building with
yeah,
the nihilist mandible twitch
yeah.
that Chris loves so much.
I do. I feel like you're teasing me for that.
Well, just a little bit. I just like how like it's a twitch, and you're just like, this is so interesting,
It means something.
and it means something. That's why you put in the world building notes. And I'm like, I mean, it's an interesting moment. I don't know if I would call it world building, but it's great.
Nihilus is the first Turian that you see, and he
Nihilus
does
is
something
great.
interesting.
He does.
So, do you want to get into spoilers here for
Yeah,
at
let's
least the first
let's.
couple minutes?
So yeah, we're full on spoilers, everyone. If you want to know about the story of Mass Effect, go play it for yourselves.
Yeah,
It's
please
great.
do.
Please do. Even if you listen to this whole thing, please play it. It's a great game. I think it still holds up. They just did a remaster
Yeah,
not too long ago, so it's been updated a little bit, and it's great. You get to make your choices. It's one of the favorite things we love about it is you get to make choices, and the game responds on those choices that you make.
yeah,
And so all three games differ
and they build off
depending
of
on
each other.
and they build off of each other.
Yeah,
Like you can lose crewmates in this game, and in the next game they're not there because you lost them in the previous game.
yeah,
And and if they were needed for a certain thing, they'll insert someone else, and it doesn't have as much impact depending on.
yeah.
So anyway, that's
Anyway,
that's the disclaimer.
yep.
Spoil away.
All right. Uh, one of the first things that happens in this game is a man named Jenkins gets shot to death.
Oh, Jenkins.
Uh,
I love
which
him.
I love the running joke of saying like, "Oh man, Jenkins is a real powerhouse if you can build him right." But there's nothing you can do. He dies almost immediately before you enter any actual combat.
He dies before you are even allowed to fire a shot. Like
I
you
mean, yeah,
literally
you can shoot
run.
at the beginning, but
Well, you can
yeah,
shoot, but you're not across enemies yet.
yeah,
The moment enemies come, you don't even have the option to pull out your gun before Jenkins is dead on the floor.
that's correct. So
You shouldn't have ran in like that.
not only is it a great Leroy Jenkins reference, because he runs in there and immediately dies. It's also, I believe, the game trying to tell you, hey, this is a big deal. Your companions can die.
That's true.
And I think they needed to do that really early.
That's valid and fair because honestly, it's something that like people could easily forget about because I mean, there is ways, well, not always, but there is ways to make it so most of your crew survives. And people play the game to figure that out. So I think it's really easy for people to go, "Oh yeah, that's just a funny gag." But it
Yeah,
does like depending on your choices, there's times where like you can't like if you would have done things differently, you could have saved someone,
right.
but you didn't do it that way, and so now that person is not going to survive.
Yeah,
There's a specific moment that I think about in this game specifically. One of my favorite characters. I don't know if we want to wait to get there in the timeline. What do you think?
Let's wait.
We'll wait. Okay, we'll come
Yeah.
back to that when it
Okay.
when it becomes part of the story.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should keep going.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, this is going to be a long one. We have a lot to say about Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
And
you enjoy it because
we'll
it's
hustle
great.
through some of these points. Don't worry.
We're not going to
But
race.
no, we'll pick it up. We're still getting the pace.
Nothing's happened yet.
But essentially, this whole thing is because now we know in the moment you don't know until the end of the mission, but Saren, a specter, has turned traitor.
Traitor. And the
Um,
thing that he does
he kills
is
Nihilus.
he kills Nihilus.
So basically, this guy that they give you immediately, who's like, "Hey, I don't hate humans. I think you're all right. I want you guys in a
And
position of
he's
power. I think you're the guy to help out humanity.
and he's
Let's go."
hot,
And he gets shot in the back.
and then he gets shot. The first hot guy you meet gets shot. And I'm offended.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brutal too because like you see the cutscene happen, your character doesn't. It's a video game cutscene where they show you Saren just capping him in the back of the head, and it's absolutely brutal because as the traumatized dock worker says later, like he let his guard down. Like he was like, "Oh, Saren's here. That's weird, but he's my friend."
Uh,
Just absolutely brutal.
it is.
But Saren is allied with a mechanical race called the Geth. And he is on a warpath. He's killing innocent civilians. He's killing his teammates, Spectres. He's killing humans, mostly. Um, there's some world building. We haven't seen the Geth in a long time. The Geth are tied up with the backstory of the Quarians. They're a mechanical race that essentially kicked their creators off their homeworld. And then they just disappeared.
Right.
And now they're following Saren, a traitor, and no one really knows why.
Yeah, so that's, concerning,
It is
to say the least. So essentially, routine mission, you get to Eden Prime. Right out the gate, you split up from Nihilus. Nihilus wants to go check something out, so you split up. You're going to meet up with him. And then you lose Jenkins
Yep.
right away. And then you come across all these Geth. And not only that, you also come across dead bodies of humans who are then turned in
Turned into
or
like
husks.
these
Sorry,
husks. Yeah.
I forgot that.
They're
That's the
they're
word.
essentially reanimated, which is terrifying. But they're very clear signs of like tech. So it's almost like they're not like, air quotes magic zombies. They're tech zombies. They're
Yeah.
kind of stitched together with like tubes and wiring, and they have this kind of electrical effect on them. We also meet. So we start out with Caden and Jenkins. Jenkins goes down. We pick up Ashley.
Yes.
She was in the message that we saw at the beginning, and she is trying to fight off some Geth there. So then we have our two companions on Eden Prime.
Yep. And then we find out that we see Saren and Nihilus. We see Nihilus get shot. Cut back to Shepard. We hear the shot go out, so we hear
Yeah.
the shot that kills Nihilus.
Which is incredible because they show you the cutscene where he aims the pistol, then it cuts back to gameplay. You have time to take like 2 steps forward and you hear that gunshot.
Yeah.
And it's such a chilling effect because you, the player, knows what's happening. Shepard has no idea.
Right. So doing some investigating, we basically find out stuff's going on here, and it's kind of crazy. And Nihilus is dead, and basically find out Saren betrayed everyone.
Yeah.
So.
He also sets a bunch of bombs and leaves.
Oh yeah, I forgot he set bombs.
Yeah.
So.
Your character is Shepard, which I don't think we ever pointed out. You can make Shepard whoever you want.
I know we did.
Shepard
this really
can be male. Shepard can be female. Whatever you choose, the game accepts and acknowledges throughout the games.
Mm-hmm. You can pick there's different backgrounds of Shepard's past that you can pick, which come into play. Not like a ton, but
Not
as
too
much
much.
as a background would come into play with any character.
In
it gets
the first
brought
game,
up.
there's like a couple different there's like one quest depending on your background that changes, and then the other games just comment on it.
Well, right. Like it's these little things, but like the big thing I think about is there's only one background where your parents are still alive.
Yep, that's correct.
And I mean that makes a difference. Checking in
does.
with mom and dad makes a difference when you have them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have them. So,
All right.
um,
But moving forward instead of
okay.
backward.
Well,
Sorry.
we didn't do a good job of introducing Shepard in the first place. And I think that's something that should be noted.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I also think it's important that we talk about Caden, but we don't talk anything about him. You're just like, oh yeah, Caden's here.
I was getting there.
I know, I'm just saying.
You don't really get to know a lot about them until after this mission. So
And that's fair. I'm just saying we
because all right, let's
moving
finish up.
on. We're
Yeah.
gonna keep going on. So there were
Yeah.
bombs. I don't think it's that important to mention the bombs, but there were bombs. You disarm them.
Yeah. The important
And
thing is that you find this beacon
yep.
at the end of the mission, and you are given a vision. Then you black out.
Now the important thing about the beacon, you're wanting to skip over important things about certain things. Hoi. Anyway,
Go ahead.
the important thing about the beacon is that you're waiting for extraction, essentially. You find this beacon, something weird's about it, but you don't want to touch it because it's weird and it's doing weird things. And then one of your squad mates gets a little too close to it. So, you being the hero you are as Shepard, push that person out of the way, and then you kind of get like raised up into this beacon and shown these visions. Horrible visions, actually. Like, they're actually really freaky images.
They are. And
Like,
they happen they flash. Like, it is
it's
very quick.
flashes. All you
The
see,
first time they show it, it's incomprehensible.
it basically looks like meat and gears together.
Yeah.
And it's disturbing because there's noises and everything. And then you wake up on the ship.
Yep.
Talking to the doctor. The one thing I want to point out about the squad mate is we found this out. I've only ever done playthroughs as fem shep, and you've only ever done male shep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because it's always Caden who gets too close to the beacon, and you've said it's Ashley.
It's Ashley if you're male shep.
Yep.
And we immediately determined that it's because those are potential romantic interests for that gender.
Right. It definitely sets up a good like romantic subplot for those characters if they're the one you choose to
Right.
go with. And I like that already the game is doing different things based on your choices.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, you basically figure out that, you got weird things. And, I mean, we're not going to go plot for plot. So a quick synopsis is
Yeah.
you find out that, like, you got these visions, but the biggest plan to say is you go back to the Citadel, which is this, like, central hub. Think of it as, I'm going to blank on what's the planet in Star Wars?
Coruscant.
Coruscant. Think of it as Coruscant, but in the Mass Effect world. It's where everyone meets up.
Yeah.
It's where...
It is effectively the galactic capital.
Yes. So you go there to, like, let the council know, hey, Saren over here is a big betrayer guy. We don't like him. He killed Nihilus. Only for the council to almost laugh in your face, except not really. They kind of look at you and they talk down. They say, how dare you? Who do you think you are, basically? And then there is this, like, thing that, like, Turians don't really lie. Not that they can't lie, it's just that they don't.
Right. Turians are a very honor-bound race, and the fact that you're saying Saren is saying one thing and doing another, they don't believe that, because Turians would not be dishonest.
Exactly. So basically, you're told, like, you're screwed unless you find proof that he has done something.
Right.
So now...
it's also worth mentioning that Saren is there in that hearing going, I didn't do it.
Yeah. He comes in as a hologram.
Yeah. He's not
He just
there in the
holograms
flesh.
in. He's just like, listen, I'm not actually there, but I didn't do it. Who are you gonna believe? Me, a respected specter, or this human who has no standing?
Yeah.
Who may have killed Nihilus herself. I don't know. Or himself.
Maybe. We don't
Who
know.
knows? So...
this gives the player the opportunity to go, okay, we need to stop this guy, but we can't do it alone. So this is when you basically go, I'm going to go and build a team. And the next couple hours of gameplay are basically you running around the Citadel going, I need this person and this person and this person to join me.
Right. So, instead of breaking down all the different missions that get you there, because that could just take for flippin' ever, and I think we've already spent a lot of time talking about just the prologue of this game.
Yeah,
Let's just go through the characters you pick up and kind
yeah,
of a little bit how you pick them up. I'm going to start with the first one that I'm super excited about.
yeah.
Garrus,
Garrus.
Varkarian. The
Garrus,
best
Garrus
person.
Vicarian is, you meet him on the way to that hearing, and he is basically going, hey, I'm after the same thing you are. I think Saren is dirty, but I'm getting stonewalled at every step. And basically on your way to that hearing, you can basically be like, all right, well, good luck, man. Like, I'm gonna go talk to the council. And he's like, yeah, good luck. I hope you get him. And then after that hearing, you're like, well, we didn't get him, so maybe we should talk to that guy.
Yeah, this guy has a beef with Saren, and we have beef with Saren. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, so let's go get this guy.
Right.
Plus, also Garrus is the best,
Garrus is pretty awesome.
and I'm not gonna shy away from that.
I think the biggest rivalry in the game is not Shepard and Saren, it's Garrus and following the rules. Because honestly, that's why he joins you, is because he's like, listen, I got too much red tape sitting behind a desk. I want to go jet setting around the galaxy without the rules and just do the good in the world.
Yeah, Garrus is very much an ideal guy who's just like, listen, you can't do all the good you need to do in this world by following the effing rules.
Yeah,
Like, they only hold you back. I need someone who's not going to listen to the rules with me. So
right.
we can not listen to the rules together and we can make a difference. And I love him for that.
So Garrus is also a Turian, the same race as Saren, which I believe he makes a comment about basically making it a point of dishonor that Saren is making his whole culture look bad.
Well, you think about like what we just said is that Turians are an honor-bound like species in and
Yeah,
of itself, and Garrus is over here going, I know Saren is lying. I know he doesn't play. He's plays dirty, and despite him being a Spectre who's kind of allowed to do things like that, he doesn't like what Saren's doing, and yeah, so he takes it very personally that this guy is almost ruining the names of Turians.
for sure.
So, definitely get that.
And then
So yeah,
after you pick up Garrus,
it's pretty easy to pick up Garrus. It's just like,
yeah,
yeah, you go basically find him and be like, hey, Garrus, we're after Saren. You in or you're out? And he's like,
yeah,
I'm in.
yeah.
Done.
I think Garrus also, once you pick up Garrus, he's like, hey, did you hear that there was a Krogan who got picked up by CSEC? And he was, like, kind of pushing against the same cause? And you're like, well, that sounds great, because Krogan are basically living tanks.
Okay, quick side note for, we're going to talk about the races as they come up. So, Krogan, they're one of my favorite races in the Mass Effect universe.
They're very cool.
They are these, like, it's just a race of, like, these,
They're reptilian.
they're, like, reptilian, and they're just, like, it's like a warrior race.
Very much a barbaric,
Yes.
a warrior race.
Yeah. It's very much strength is, like, their number one thing that matters to them.
Yes. And so, transitioning into Rex, who is that Krogan that Garrus is talking about,
Rex. Oh boy.
who is this very grizzled warrior, deep, low voice. He's got scars running down his face. He's just an absolute monster on the battlefield. And most of the Krogan information that you get in this first game is through him, because he is your Krogan squad mate.
Right.
But he basically talks about how, and I think we should just jump right into this, the genophage.
Oh, you want to jump into it here? I was going to
Yeah.
talk about that later in the plot when it
Okay.
becomes more relevant.
Then we can do that.
Just because, I mean, the genophage is a big thing. We will go into it in depth a little bit here as the plot comes up. It's just when you first meet him, that doesn't matter. He's not going on a whole thing about it. It becomes apparent
Yeah,
later in the plot.
just to talking to him, you're kind of prying for information, but he's basically like given up on trying to lead his people
Well,
because he thinks that they're not interested in getting better.
yeah. So a quick thing on the genophage. We will expand on this later. Sorry, this is probably where you were going with this. But the genophage is basically this genetic disease that has been given to the Krogan race, to where they are not able to. It's like basically what, 1 in every 1,000 births actually
Something like that. I can't remember the exact number.
survives. So it's a way to, like, their race is basically dying. And so most Krogan have kind of given up on doing anything societal for themselves. They've kind of all turned mostly to mercenary work. None of them really feel much of a connection in trying to, like, save their species, because none of them feel there is any way to save their species. So they
Right.
basically all turn to mercenary work because that's
Right.
what they're good at.
Hmm.
So Rex kind of gives you that whole thing. So that's why you know that Rex is this mercenary, very good at his job, really wants to go after this specific person who you want to question. There's some plot reasons that
Yeah.
don't really matter. It's literally a mission to get you Rex.
Yeah.
So
Uh, but Rex is great. He's very stoic.
straightforward
He's
too.
straightforward, head down. I'm just here to kill stuff, basically. But he appreciates your cause. And he admires you as a person.
Yes.
So you grab Garrus and Rex on your way to really grab Talizora. Because Talizora has a recording of Saren gloating about how Eden Prime was such a victory, which is
Ace
your
in the hole.
proof, your ace in the
Yeah.
hole proof for the council. But Talizora is a Quarian. She is actually a youth. She is not a full adult by her culture, and she is on a pilgrimage, meaning that
Yeah, she's
she,
more so like, I would consider her young adult-ish.
yeah, and I mean, I think by,
Like, she's not like considered a full-fledged adult in their culture, but she's not like a child. Like, I get what you're saying. I just wanted to
yeah,
make it clear that
she's
she's on
like,
her pilgrimage, which means it's like her pilgrimage is basically her way of being accepted as a full-fledged member of society within
right, she is,
her culture.
it's like a coming of age ritual,
Yes,
essentially.
there you go. That's a good way to put it.
She is like developmentally an adult, I think. I think as far as her culture is concerned, she is not accepted as a contributing member of their
Right.
society until she completes this.
Because there is a thing with Quarians, and what the pilgrimage is okay. Having to backtrack a little bit because we said we're going to talk about the races as they came up.
Yep.
Quarians, Chris mentioned this a little bit at the start when we were talking about the Geth, is the Quarians are the ones who made the Geth. They created, I want to say robotic, but that's not quite the word I'm looking for. But
Synthetic.
synthetic, there you go, the synthetic race that is the Geth. And the Geth turned on them and basically exiled the Quarians from their home world.
Yes.
So the Quarians are basically, they have no home world anymore, and they are
Correct.
basically, they have what the their home,
The
quote
flotilla.
unquote, is called the flotilla. It's
Yeah.
just like this migrating ships.
It is a massive fleet of basically every ship they can get that basically just floats through space, and they're looking for a home. In the meantime, because they spend all of their time on ships, they wear environmental suits because their immune system has just been wrecked.
And part of every Quarian's pilgrimage is to go out into the world or universe, whatever you want to call it, and basically bring some form of technology or something to help the flotilla. That is their mission. So, like,
Yeah.
Tally is on a pilgrimage to basically find some sort of tech or some sort of something to help, like, maintain the flotilla and, like, contribute to it. Because everyone needs to be a contributing member when you're all surviving on a fleet of ships.
So,
Anyway.
you get Talizora, who, if you guys are fans of the channel, you might know that we have a dog named Tally, named after Talizora.
Yes.
One of our favorite characters. She's just bubbly. She's incredibly intelligent, and she also takes no shit.
No. She's very
Which,
sassy. I don't
yeah,
like that about her.
which is a lot of fun.
Oh, she's great. I love her so much.
So yeah, we've gained these 3 squad mates, and then in combination with Caden and Ashley, brings our squad up to 5.
So yeah, so let's briefly talk about Caden and Ashley just a bit since we didn't talk about him before.
I think we should, yeah.
So Caden Alenko, he's someone who is been with you, Shepard, since the beginning. He has been part of your like ship since then. He I think is a pretty interesting character. He is a biotic,
Yes.
which in this game I'm trying to think of like the right word for it.
Mechanically, it's essentially a magic system in the
Yeah.
game. You can do magic. You can cast like damaging like orbs. You can make like a little black hole that like sucks people in. You can like cast barriers around yourself. In universe, essentially, they found a way for living beings to manipulate mass. You affect mass, which is where the name comes from. They use some of that same technology to like power ships and stuff like that.
So Caden being a biotic, he's able to do those things. I think he's got something in his head. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, so basically, even if a human has the ability to affect mass with this biotic ability, it's never that strong. So biotics, in order to actually use it in combat, need an implant surgically placed within them. Caden is an early adopter. He's one of the earlier biotics for the human race. So he is an earlier generation implant. He is not compatible with newer technology, which leads to some interesting dialogue. Because essentially, Caden is in chronic pain.
Yeah.
Like, he's always hurting all the time.
He is constantly in pain and having to deal with that while, functioning and going through. And I find that super interesting. I remember when I first played through, I found Caden super interesting, so I wanted to go talk to him a lot because I found his dialogue options very intriguing to me.
And I think a really cool thing that they do to introduce that is that Caden doesn't really get into it himself. He brings it up very subtly of like, oh, I think I have a headache or something. Mm-hmm. And then you can actually go to the doctor, Dr. Chakwas, and basically go, hey, what's going on with him? And she's like, oh yeah, he's in excruciating pain all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, Caden downplays how like in pain he is. You have to like talk to the doctor for her to be like, yeah, no. Like he has to be in here a lot to deal with it. And yeah, he's not going to bring it up. He's not going to cause trouble.
Yeah.
Then there's Ashley. She's new because you pick her up on Eden Prime. Her entire crew dies in that attack, and you pick her up after you lose Jenkins. And I feel like we have different vibes with Ashley.
I think we do, and I think it's because of the main choice that you and I play Mass Effect differently. I think it's because I'm a male and you're a female. And
I also think it comes from the fact that you yourself are a male and I myself am a female. Because I think Ashley is kind of a combative character when you first pick her up. She has, I say she has an attitude. She doesn't necessarily recognize your authority, per se. She kind of has her thoughts. She is not a big fan of the other species on board.
I think she could safely be described as xenophobic, yeah.
Okay. I was like to say, that's the nice way of saying it. A lot of people like to call Ashley a space racist.
Yeah.
And she has her reasons, if we're going to be fair to her.
We already talked
mentioned
about that. Yeah.
that her grandfather was in the First Contact War, and I think he died.
He didn't die in the war. He surrendered.
Yeah.
He was one of the first humans to ever surrender to an alien race.
Yeah, is
why her whole thing is that she doesn't trust the other aliens. And she's
Yeah.
not shy about saying that.
No, she's not. And for me, the way she was talking, especially to like me as femshep, and basically saying, well, kind of like suck it up. You just need to follow my rules because I'm the commander here. She kind of has this way of saying it like, yeah, sure, whatever, you're the commander. And it comes off very chippy to me.
Yeah, I can see
And
that.
I feel like she might have delivered those lines to you specifically as well. But like it comes off different, I think, when you're female, like when it's two women talking to each other versus,
Sure. And
because I think if it's, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I have feelings on
yeah,
this.
go ahead.
Because I think if you're a male ship and it's like this female cadet or whatever her title is, and she's like trying to like stand up to you, it can be seen as she wants to be taken seriously, and so she's gonna like try and stand up for herself, and it gives off that vibe. But if it's two females, it's almost like, I don't think you're better than me, and I'm not gonna listen to you, and it comes off very catty and almost like she doesn't think that you should have that like status above her.
I believe that. I also believe that based on the way that Mass Effect is set up, it might be entirely different recordings of those lines.
It could be.
And
I
it's
don't
something
know.
that it never occurred to me, but we should probably look into that.
We should. I think it'd be really fun. I think we should go to like when you can first talk to her and like record my talking to her as femshep, or you do a playthrough as
Yeah.
femshep. Maybe I'll do a playthrough as maleshep, and we'll compare notes. So Ashley and I always had some little beef.
So, from a male perspective, she does have those xenophobic tendencies. But somewhat very early, you can basically be like, hey, they're here to help, lock that down. Like, you're free to feel however you want to feel, don't let it get in the way. And she responds to that. She stops making those comments. And I know it's because she's one of the romance options, but she kind of starts sucking up to you after that.
See, but as femshep, she's not a romance option for you.
Right.
So
So,
she doesn't.
yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway,
So that's the team so far.
that's the team. So essentially, you get the team, you bring that proof to the council of Saren, point blank, on recording, saying he was behind Eden Prime.
Yeah.
And the council's like, oh crap.
Our bad. My B.
So
We're gonna take a
sorry.
whoopsie do on this one.
So now that you told us that he is, now that we believe you, we're gonna need you to bring Saren in.
They
Because
even have to be talked into that too,
we can't find him.
because they're like, we don't know where he is. Also, following him where we think he is might start a war with our non-civilized, like our non-settled systems. Like they're in the boonies out there, and there are like Batarians. There are like non-council space basically. Like they do not have jurisdiction out there.
Yeah. So
So
they're
they're
like, hey, so you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna throw you a bone. Completely our idea.
yeah.
We're so great. We're gonna make you a specter. Congratulations, yay humans!
This
You
is
guys get your specter.
this is so great for you.
You're welcome for giving you this option. Us, the
Uh,
council, are the best, and we know that.
so you are crowned a specter. You are given your mission: find and stop Saren, and you are basically given free reign to do so. You've got your 5 team members, and you are also, from this point, you are given 3 objectives, 3 planets to go visit. I can't remember the name of the first one because they don't refer to it as such. Basically, Saren's second in command, Matriarch Benezia, who is an Asari, she has a daughter. Go find her. That's the first one. The second one is go to Pharos, which is under attack by the Geth, and then finally go find Matriarch Benezia's base, her secret lab on Noveria. So we have 3 headings that you can tackle in any order.
Yep. So
Which do
what
you
one?
do first?
I've usually went to find Benezia's daughter first.
Yes. it just makes sense to complete your team before moving on.
And that's part of it is I know that in doing so that gets your final member of your team.
Yeah.
Had I not known that before playing, maybe I would have chosen something different. But yeah, I go get Liara first.
Yeah, basically, there's also not that much to do on this planet except just like go find her.
Right.
So you find Liara.
Yep.
Liara is an Asari. She's trapped in a bubble.
She is. There was an explosion, it happened, and all of a sudden she's trapped in a bubble and she can't get out of it.
Yeah. Uh,
Which is hilarious just because I did not know this. I found this
yeah.
out. I've never done this because, like I said, I go get her first.
Yeah.
If you wait to get her till the very, like, if you do the other two first and go get her last, she has been in that bubble for a while and has gone a little cray-cray.
She acknowledges that you left it till last, basically. Like, she acknowledges that more time has passed than if you went and got her first.
Yes, she basically thinks she's hallucinating you. And she's like, great, I've gone crazy now. I'm going to die here, and I'm
Yeah.
hallucinating people.
Which is a
Like,
fun little Easter egg that they kind of threw in there.
it is fun. I do like watching the videos, but then my poor heart's like, oh, poor Liara. She's
Yeah.
already a really quirky character. And to have her, like, kind of be a little, like, shell-shocked and
So
thinking she's imagining people she's never
yeah.
met before, and she's like, you're very, you're very helpful for hallucination. Are hallucinations usually this helpful? I don't
Yeah.
know. I've never hallucinated before, or maybe I have. I don't know. She's just so,
So
she's so quirky.
there's a short little bit when you find her where you're basically like, hey, Matriarch Benezi is bad. Are you with her? And she's like, no, I don't even talk to my mom anymore. And
My
you're like,
mom and
all
I
right,
have beef.
yeah, well then all right, come with us and we'll figure it out later. So you get her out of there. So let's talk about Liara.
Yeah. She is this quirky little Asari. She's also fairly young, as far as Asari are concerned.
She's 150,
She's
which is
150.
which is incredibly young for her race, her species.
But she's a quirky girl, and she has a passion in her life, which is researching
She's an
Protheans.
archaeologist, yeah.
Okay, yeah, she's an archaeologist. Great, we could say it that way
She
too.
specializes in the Prothean ruins, that like just like the ones that humanity found on Mars.
Which we didn't discuss. We should have done this at the beginning with the world building.
We're all out of order. Let's just,
We're all
let's
out of
just
order. We'll
embrace
be
it at
better.
this
We'll
point.
be better for the second one,
We will,
guys.
for sure.
How to get this first one off the plate. But essentially, one of the big reasons humans were able to make first contact with all the other aliens is when they went to Mars, they found this technology there already. It was Prothean technology. Protheans are a race or a species of aliens, but they don't exist anymore. Like,
They
they
are,
got
yeah.
wiped out. But a lot of the technology that a lot of people use in the galactic universe space was invented by them.
So it's worth noting at this point that we don't yet know that they've been wiped out. We know that they don't exist
Oh,
anymore.
oh well, if someone doesn't exist anymore, they got wiped out. Either
They're a precursor race. They left behind a bunch of clues to their existence, but there's none to be found.
right.
And that's what Liara specializes in researching. She's introverted to the max. Even if you don't leave her there till last, she is a little bit socially inept.
It's basically like she's a smart girl who spent way more time in books and past and research than she did like socializing anywhere. So she's got that
Yeah,
awkwardness about her.
very much like the textbook example of book smart, not street smart.
Yes.
So Liara is an Asari, and Asari they're not really asexual, but essentially their method of reproduction is mental, not physical. So they are compatible with any race, any gender, which is a cool sci-fi concept in my opinion. But
Yep.
that also means that Liara is a romance option for both male and female shepherd.
Yes.
She,
Because as of this yet, they didn't really give much. Aside from they didn't really give much space for any LGBT
yeah,
for the first game.
for the
It
first
changes
game.
in the second and third games, guys. They got better,
And
but
even in those games, the developers were like, we wanted to do so much more.
right.
Um,
So I wanted to point that out because it's not like that's the only reason you can be with Liara if you are a femshep.
yeah,
You can be with Liara even if it wasn't a mental link thing.
yeah.
But that being said, all Asari are females.
With
I mean,
slight air quotes around that.
yeah, air quotes around. Listen, it gets dicey.
They
I mean,
all look like human females.
they are all female presenting.
Yeah.
Is the better way to phrase that.
But
I mean,
Liara talks about her mother and father separately. And even then,
right.
you're kind of like, if you want to use those terms.
Yes, it's very much. They don't necessarily use that same phrasing for gender. It just makes it easier. Liara uses she, her pronouns.
Yeah.
We'll just call it like that.
But because, regardless of the gender that you select for your character, Liara expresses an interest. And it basically starts out as you guys are kind of questioning each other about your cultures. Shepard's asking about Asari culture. Liara's asking about human culture because she hasn't had that much interaction with other races. And it leads to kind of this fun kind of back and forth of like, you're not really sure if you're interested in the person in front of you or the race that they're talking about. Like, it's kind of this fun back and forth between like, oh, are you talking about humanity or are you talking about Shepard? Are you talking about the Asari or are you talking about Liara? Which I think is kind of a fun, like, it's really clever writing to be like, oh, I'm interested in you and your culture. Oh, I'm interested in you.
Right.
Which is like a very quick line that gets blurred.
Yeah, and speaking of that, just since we're talking about romance options, Liara is someone, if you talk to her a lot, she very much thinks you're interested in her.
Mm-hmm.
And another person, if you talk to a lot, that thinks you're interested is Caden, which I found out the hard way. Like, I liked Caden.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like him as a. I was like, I was back and forth on if I actually wanted to romance him. I knew
Yeah.
he was the only, like, male romance option for me as femship. So I was like, but I remember talking to Caden once, and he's like, yeah, so you and Liara have been talking, and I was just wondering, like, are you guys a thing, or are we a thing? And I'm just going over here going, what? I didn't think I was flirting with anyone.
So that's a really cool thing about this game. I had never seen a game do this before, but if you are being nice to everyone, and eventually you get to a point where you can basically say, you can establish a relationship. But if you follow those tracks to a certain point, those two people talk. And they come to you and they say, do you want to be with me or do you want to be with them? And they confront you face to face and basically say, you need to pick one of us because we're not okay with you leading us both on, essentially.
Yeah.
And that happens. So the male options are Ashley and Liara. The female options are Caden and Liara.
So, since I never played male with romancing Ashley, did she do the same thing as Caden with Liara, or did you never?
She does.
Okay.
They do confront Shepard at some point, and basically say, "You got to pick one of us." So yeah, on the subject, did you follow through on the Caden romance?
I never did. I got close, I think, because finally I was kind of like, sure. And then it was like the last mission. I think I actually think like the romance scene got interrupted. Like it was like I didn't confirm early enough to have a romance scene, so like the
So
one that I thought was leading to that one gets interrupted because you're about to go into the big mission.
so how it works is that you confirm your relationship status before the final mission through dialogue. at the final mission, right before the point, or right after the point of no return, is the romance scene, where if you basically have the chance of going, I'm not so sure about this, you can back off, or you can say, yeah, I want this, let's do this. And then your characters will essentially sleep together.
Okay.
I believe you had already confirmed the romance, but you backed off on the sex.
Okay, is that what happened?
Because I think you
I
can choose
maybe
to be in a relationship, but not a sexual one.
see that doesn't sound like me.
So I think maybe you had already confirmed that you were in a relationship with
Here's
Caden,
here's
but
what
then didn't sleep with him.
here's what probably happened. I probably confirmed it without realizing I was confirming it.
Yeah.
And then when it got to that point, I probably was trying to deny the relationship.
You were trying to backtrack.
And yeah, I don't fully remember. I just know that like Kate and I were in a room and it was being a nice moment, and then our pilot comes on, who we haven't talked about yet, Joker. He's great.
Yeah.
But he came on and was like, "Hey, Commander, you gotta get up here," essentially. And I was like, "Okay."
If you don't pick, basically, if you pick any option other than the yes, like hard yes, let's do this, they back off.
Okay, so that's probably what happened. I
So
probably
if you showed
was
a moment
middling
of
ground.
hesitation, you missed your window.
So yeah, I actually think it's to the point where I didn't get. I don't know if I actually got like the achievement that I did a
for
romance
completing the
in the
romance,
first
yeah.
one. So yeah, it's very confusing. But
Ashley's romance is, I definitely like her better as a romance. I think I have the opposite view of Ashley than you do of Caden, which is you like Caden as a character, like as a squad mate, but not as a romance. I kind
yes.
of like Ashley better as a romance character than her as just a regular squad mate.
And that's I think a valid way to feel.
Because she gets very deep into her conversations. She talks to Shepard about, like, once you start that romance up, she starts talking about her faith, which I think is really cool. She talks about, like, how she's a very firm believer in God, and she finds it really strange that other people think that just because she's in space and in the cosmos that she can't believe in God. And she finds that absolutely bizarre, which I think is a really cool conversation. They also echo this in Andromeda as well, with another character.
Yeah.
She also becomes this kind of warrior poet. She gets really into reciting poetry and kind of applying like very old poems into contemporary settings, which is really cool. So I think she's cool. I also acknowledge the fact that if she doesn't stop the space racism, I'm not cool with that.
Valid.
So
And it sounds like for you, when you romance her, she kind of changes her tune.
yeah,
So, you know, good job.
I also just don't like xenophobia. So it's a real mixed bag.
It is. All right. So, where do we want to go next? Pharos?
Yeah.
Does anything really. Okay, forgive me. Does anything really of note happen on Pharos? Or is it just mission stuff?
It's the key part of going to Pharos is that you meet an Asari who can make sense of the beacon you saw on Eden Prime.
Right.
It doesn't kick in right away because they don't want you to skip like plot, but basically once you see that beacon, this, I think her name is Shaira, or maybe that's the consort, the Asari consort. Never mind. Getting characters confused in my head. Basically, you meet this Asari who can make sense of that beacon that you saw at the very beginning of the game. Mm-hmm. Which, once you do, it is very clear that that is the Protheans being wiped out by the Reapers, which is a phrase that gets thrown around in this game a little bit, but this is kind of the first time that it's like, oh, okay, I'm fully comprehending what they are now.
Gotcha.
Do you want to take this one?
Okay, we're going to talk about the Reapers right now? Perfect. One thing that we forgot to mention on Eden Prime, because we're forgetting a lot of things until they become relevant.
I think it's because we're so excited.
We're too excited.
Yeah.
We've wanted to talk about this. I used to want to do just a straight Mass Effect podcast
Yeah.
until I realized that that probably wasn't going to jive. So we're just very excited about this episode. But, so on Eden Prime, when you first land on Eden Prime, you see something that's a little strange. It's like this big, gigantic claw ship leaving.
Yeah. It is a
It's
spaceship like you've
humongous.
never seen before.
It's humongous, and it's leaving, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Think about that later. Now's the time to think about it, because that is what a reaper is. Reapers are they are also a synthetic life form. And how do you explain reapers?
Reapers are a. First, you think it's just Saren's ship, but as you
Yeah.
get more hints throughout throughout the game, you find out that Reapers are actually a synthetic race that are kind of a boogeyman of galactic history. Everyone thinks that they're this giant power that comes in and they have the power to wipe out all sentient life, but no one really knows if that's true, or if it is true, why there is still life, or how they do it. Like it's kind of one of those urban legends that like there's more questions than
Well,
answers.
and no one's seen a
Right.
reaper.
No one knows
So
what they look like.
no one knows what they look like. No one knows anything about them. But there is. So, what you basically find out is that the Protheans, the reason they're not around anymore is that the Reapers wiped them out. Now, what happened to the Reapers after that? Not really sure. But now you're kind of aware that there is one here,
Yeah.
and Saren is working with it.
With it. Yeah.
And that is also why the Geth are on their side as well. It's how
Because
Saren's controlling the Geth, because they're synthetic life form as well.
they're a synthetic life form. They see the Reapers as the ultimate life form, and they worship it as if it were a god.
Yes.
So therefore, to them, Saren is like a messiah. He is
Right?
going, I've seen the Reapers, and I will herald in their return.
So, them's the Reapers.
Yes, this is also kind of, it's a little bit in conjunction with Noveria, because the Theros and Noveria have kind of a similar theme of that Saren really is interested in mind control.
Yes. Mind
Theros
control plays
has
a
a
big
creature
part.
that controls the colonists' minds, which at the climax of Theros is that you have to take back the colony that you've been trying to protect, and all of the colonists are trying to kill you. They are mind controlled by this thing who lives underneath that colony, and you have to make a conscious effort to just use your grenade on them, which you've stocked with like a nerve agent. Or you can, if you're a renegade ship and you don't care, you
I
can
will
just
say,
kill them.
I was gonna say, the grenade has an age in it. It's not like a explosion grenade. It's like almost like
Yeah,
a smoke
it's like a
bomb
gas
grenade.
grenade. Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to point that out because you didn't really specify, and it's just like, yeah, just throw grenades at these people who are mind controlled. It's fine, or just shoot them.
But
Like,
like you're
you know,
fighting like rank and file enemies, and then you'll just get like a named human
yeah.
who you talked to earlier. Like, oh crap, that's the shopkeeper.
And you know,
Like,
like, they're not trying to kill you. Like,
yeah,
it's not their choice. They are being, like, basically hijacked. And so, yeah, you have the Paragon option, which is try and save as many people as you can. Hopefully, not kill this entire colony of people who are basically coming at you against their will.
right.
Or you can do the renegade option, which is just kill them.
Who cares? Yeah.
No one
The
cares. Renegades.
the bad
Oh,
the
renegade
more
option
evil
is
option
big.
is just like, I don't care. They're in my way. I'm gonna kill
They're in
them.
my way. I'm gonna shoot them down.
Yeah.
Which Mass Effect lets you play that type of character if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Those are choices that you can make.
I am currently doing a playthrough of Mass Effect where I am trying to commit to doing renegade options,
Yeah.
and it hurts.
It's hard. A
It's
lot of it is just being
hard.
mean to characters that you like.
It's one of those things where, like, yeah, some renegade options are fun.
Yeah. Some of them are
Like,
like, "Oh, I'm a cool action hero. Watch
I'm
as I
gonna
shove this guy out the window."
or I'm gonna interrupt the stupid council for saying crap to me, and I'm just gonna go tell them off,
Yeah,
cause
you can hang up on the
F
council.
you. But when it's other things like, yeah, just straight up kill these innocent people who have
Yeah,
no control over their things just because they're in your way and you gotta get through them.
yeah,
It's like, that's a little harder.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, it's a video game. Some people don't have hard times with those type of choices. I do.
yeah.
So,
And then the last planet that you can go to is Novaria. The first half of this planet is a slog because it's a super bureaucratic, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go after Benezia, and they're like, actually, you can't do that because we're this super corporate world and we are loyal to our board of directors first and foremost. So you have to do a bunch of running around to actually like get to where you want to go. But then
which
you
is
get yeah,
not important.
not important. We're going to skip over that.
Yep.
Because what's important is you get to Matriarch Benezia's lab,
Mm-hmm.
which is completely run down and overrun by these mysterious creatures who you later find out are Rachni.
Rachni.
Which we talked a little bit about the genophage, and this is going to lead into that.
A little
Because the
bit.
Rachni were these kind of, they're kind of bug-like, but they
Yeah.
are intelligent.
They are a bug-like race, with huge intelligence, and they basically speak telepathically to each other.
Yeah.
And they have Arachni Queen, and she kind of basically controls them all. And they do.
Yeah.
It's a very. It reminds me of very much almost like a bee hive situation where it's like, all of
And
the Rachni work to protect the queen,
right.
and
And
she's the one that's important.
as you find out in this lab, they found a ship drifting in space that had a Rachni egg. They thought that this species was completely extinct
Yep.
because they found the Krogan and threw Krogan at this problem. The Rachni were overrunning the galaxy, so they found the Krogan and they basically said, "We will give you technology and guns and spaceships if you take care of this problem for us." And
Yep.
they were like, "Hell yeah, man, I'll take that deal." The Krogan throw themselves at this race, almost like they believed they wiped them out,
Yeah.
like hunted them to extinction. And then the Krogan had all these spaceships and weapons, so they're like, "Cool, we're gonna go conquer all these other planets."
Mm-hmm.
And all the races that uplifted them went, "Oh no, wait,
Oh crap.
yeah, you guys are
We didn't want
unstoppable now."
exact. It's almost like we brought you up to take care of this problem that we couldn't handle, but now you yourself have like basically replaced that problem for us, and we don't have anyone to stop you.
Right. So, to quell the growing Krogan threat, the Turians, along with the scientific backing of the Solarians,
Freaking
a
Solarians.
bug-like lizard, like kind of like a bug, not bug-like, lizard-like. They kind of look like
Lizard.
salamanders.
Yeah, that's the more way to put it.
Inflict the genophage upon the Krogan. They specifically engineer a virus that makes them like that quells their population, that makes it so that they cannot reproduce reliably, and then they inflict that upon the Krogan as a reward for winning their war for them.
Yes. And the thing that is so like horrific about it is it's very much like, hey, thanks for doing this thing that we asked you to do. Now you guys, we're essentially like letting you guys, like, what's the word, like, we are letting you basically just fade away now because, like we said when we first brought this up, it is like, I believe it is like 1 in every 1,000 births is viable. And that is births,
Yeah,
meaning
they
all
carry them to term.
they carry their child to term only for like over 99% of them to be stillbirths.
Yeah,
And you
which
never know
is
which one's going to survive until the end.
real messed up.
It is messed up. It's like, it's one of those things where I Like, it's easy when you first play through these games to just kind of go, oh, there's a genophage, they just can't reproduce as often. And it'd be one thing if it's like, yeah, they can't get pregnant as easily.
Yeah.
And that honestly would be a lot more humane than what they do.
Exactly. And the more you get into the details of like this was an intentionally brutal thing that was inflicted upon them as punishment for not doing what the council races wanted them to do.
Which is also insane because this is how the Krogan got brought into, like, galactic society.
Yeah, they were fine chilling
They
on
were
Tachanka before this.
they had their own planet, Tachanka. They were just there. I mean, it's just like us humans right now. They were living their own freaking lives. These Another alien race comes in, brings them out of it, says, "Here, we're going to lift you up and we're going to bring you all these good things. You just need to take care of these guys for us." They do that job, do it successfully. Then they're like, "Cool, we're going to take these things," only for those same people to go, "We don't like what you're doing. So
Now, granted, they were conquering other planets. They were doing
yes,
bad things.
they
However,
were.
what the Turians and the Solarians responded with is like some real war crime level shit.
Yes. It's like, listen, not saying the Krogan like weren't a problem that needed dealing with. It's just that the solution to said problem was horrific and is long lasting. Like this
Right.
thing happened years and years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
Like way before humans came into play. Like this is
Exactly, yeah.
so like it's such a large history where this has now just become the Krogan's reality. To like we said, most Krogan believe there is no cure for the genophage, that their race is just going to die out. So they feel there's no benefit
Yeah.
in having any type of society with their own race anymore. That it's very much a I'm out for me and me alone.
Right.
And it's
And
heartbreaking when you actually like think of that.
and that's why most of Rex's stuff is he's just resigned. He's like so much about what Shepard is like, why don't you have hope? Like, why don't you try and fix this? This is awful. And Rex is like, there's not really a point. Like,
Right.
why? Like, we're not really interested in getting better. We're interested in just we're looking out for ourselves, each individual person.
And what's interesting is if you talk to Rex, you can get out of him essentially that he wants them to have hope.
Yes.
He wants the Krogan to succeed.
And that's
He
really
wishes
important
things
for
could be different.
that's really important for his arc over all three games is that
Yes.
he actually did try to lead his people, and they weren't interested.
Yeah. He basically tried and people were like, "We don't care."
Yeah.
And he basically got disheartened. It's still in him, but he doesn't feel like he can do anything about it, and that's why he's a merc, and that's why
Right.
he's going on these things. So
So shifting back to the narrative,
yeah, getting back to Novaria.
when you essentially they found a Rachni egg, and they found out that it was a queen. So Benezia, Saren's second in command, is basically like, all right, well, if I control the queen, I have an army. I can raise an army of Rachni to fight for Saren. So that's what's going on this in this lab. And if you bring Rex along,
Oh.
he has feelings about these Rachni.
So the best people note if you want to play these games, even at like,
Even though you're
even though
listening
we're
to
spoiling
spoilers.
things
Yeah.
right now. Best crew to bring along on this thing, or the most chaotic crew to bring on this, is Rex and Liara. If you
So,
bring those
yeah.
two, that is where it gets freaking wild, because you have Liara going against her mother, and you have Rex going up and realizing that the Rachni are not extinct after all.
So after beating, you essentially find Benezia. She tries to kill you.
Yeah, boss battle happens.
Yeah. Then, by the way, even if you bring Liara, she has no qualms about trying to kill her daughter, which tells you the kind of person she is.
Yeah, Benezia ain't a good mom. Let's just say
However, once she is dying, she kind of gains a moment of lucidity, and you realize that she
I
has
forget
been
about this.
controlled by Saren the whole time.
I do,
So-
I do forget that Benezia is under mind control, and that's a little bit why she's bad mom.
Right. So after you kind of beat her down, and she's kind of, dying, bleeding out, essentially. She kind of breaks that spell and goes, listen, Saren has been mind controlling me. Like, he gets under your head. I thought I was smart enough to avoid it, but I guess I'm not. But it's his ship. His ship can control your mind. So, in this moment of lucidity, not only does she tell you, basically, Saren is bad. He's got a Reaper working for him who gets into your head. He can mind control. Also, if Liara is with you, she goes, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
In that moment of lucidity, she does give Liara some closure, saying, you did what you had to do. I'm not mad at you. I'm proud of you. Which is a great reason to bring Liara with, because she does get that closure, even if it feels mean that you're bringing Liara with on a mission to kill her mother.
Yeah, that is very true. So yeah, you get that moment. You get that nice moment for Liara. And now you have a Arachnite Queen to deal with.
Correct. And the Arachnite Queen...
She's in she's in like a little, she's in a cage.
She's in like a tank that
she's in
you
a
are
tank.
sitting in front of the control panel for.
Listen, the Arachnite Queen, you're not in danger from.
Right. That's
At
what
the
we're trying to say.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a completely different dynamic. You are in control of their fate, which is a huge choice in this game, because the Arachnite Queen speaks to you, saying, "Hey, I don't want no beef. Like, I just want to take my kids, all of these Arachni that are scurrying around this facility. I just want to take them and leave. I just want to be left alone."
Yeah, listen, we don't want anything. We don't want to cause any issues. We just want to live by ourselves away from all of this. Like, we don't want to invade. We don't, like, it's also, do the Arachni, I believe they're able to, like, pass down memories.
Yes.
So, like, the Arachnite Queen very much remembers the Arachni Wars.
Yeah.
And, like, what happened. And acknowledges it. And basically is like, listen, we don't want to do that again. We want to just go, we want to live in peace. We don't want any of that. Now, if you bring Rex along with you, Rex is looking at you going, what are you doing? Kill this thing.
Yeah, why are you hesitating? Kill it with fire. I've got a shotgun right here.
Like, and he very much is like, my people are going through all this crap because of them.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's their fault that the Krogan are where they're at right now.
So you
according
do
to Rex.
lose some points with Rex if you decide to listen to the Arachnite Queen and release them, which is the Paragon option.
Yep.
Because he's like, we have sacrificed so much just to have you undo it all right here, right now.
Yeah. Rex is essentially like, I don't care what she says. What's to stop them from growing their numbers and coming back? The Krogan have dwindled in numbers now, so the Krogan can't be the savior again.
Right.
And
that, I think he says something like, listen, if this comes back to bite you, it's your ass, not ours. Like, we won't be there to save you this time.
It's almost like the Krogan, he's basically said, hey, if this happens again, the Krogan are not dealing with it. Like, they will not even fight.
Which,
they will,
honestly, fair.
Peace, honestly. Like, poor guys have dealt with enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rex gets mad, and he don't like it. I have always let the Arachnite Queen live. Because I like to believe in second chances.
Awfully noble of you.
Thank you. So I let the Arachnite Queen live. Rex gets really pissy at me for a bit. It hurts because I love Rex. He's one of my faves. But that's just what happens, so...
So, even this is a great segue, because Rex getting pissy at you also happens on
Virmire.
Because...
Next place we go to.
This is a major plot point planet. Basically, the entire story kicks off from here. You go there because Saren has a secret base. You get basically a burst of static from an infiltration team, a spy team. So you go to investigate. And it's basically a Salarian team who's like, hey, we've been spying on this guy. We need you to send an army. And you're like, you just got me. That's it. He's like, oh, that's not good, because Saren is cloning Krogan. He has an entire facility here that is just cranking out Krogan clones to make an army. And Rex goes, "This is great."
More Krogan, baby.
He's like, "It sounds like Saren, who
Is
I thought was my enemy, has cured the
the
genophage."
genophage. Yeah.
And
Great news.
they're like, "No, this is a disaster. Like, we need to blow this place to high hell." And he's like,
Well,
"I want to save this place."
and it doesn't help that the person telling you this is a Solarian.
Right, who is of the species that made the genophage.
So they're going, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Krogan should not have this type of numbers. Like,
That's like one of
we hate
the
this.
weirdest things about the genophage is like anytime you talk to someone and you're like, "This seems really shitty," and they're like, "No, it was great. It was really smart actually." And you're
We
like,
were
"What is
so
wrong
smart.
with you?"
We are so smart for making this. Like, you should recognize how smart we are.
So you have a huge moment here with Rex, where Rex is
Yeah.
about to turn against you. You can actually find him down by the water, firing his shotgun indiscriminately into the water, just pondering.
Because he's, yeah, just pondering.
Yeah,
as he's wont to do. Yeah, no, it's such a tense moment, and I do remember this moment being the moment where I kind of realized that, because you gave me some advice before I played this game. You basically said, "Hey, pick whatever options you're going to do, but try like because you basically have full Paragon, which is like the full good mode, or full Renegade, which is the full like grr take no crap
yeah,
semi evil, but I don't know if I fully call Renegade evil until the later games.
yeah,
But that or you have a middle ground. And your advice to me was kind of like, hey, just try not to pick the middle ground a lot. Like, yeah, you can pick it if that's what you feel, but like try and have like a strong choice. Was
yeah.
kind of your advice to
I
me.
think it's more rewarding if you stick hard to one of the bigger personalities,
Right.
either the Boy Scout good guy or the like total ends justify the means like action hero, basically.
Right. And I feel like it's this moment that really sunk it in for me because this is the moment you talk to Rex. And there is dialogue to talk Rex down that is not unlocked for you if you do not have enough points in Paragon or enough points in Renegade. Either
Yeah,
you have enough points in Paragon to basically be like, calm down, I'm on your side, like, I feel for you, like, this, but this is like, you basically have enough, like, stuff to say this is, or you basically have the Renegade that's like, hey, stop feeling fucking sorry for yourself and deal with the problem at hand.
yeah.
Either one gets through to Rex and has him calm down.
If you don't,
If you don't have that, Rex charges you.
and one of your
And
squad mates, I think it's Ashley.
it's always
Okay,
Ashley.
I wasn't sure if
It's
it changed, but
it
it's
is
more in character for
always
Ashley.
it is always
Basically,
Ashley.
if Rex charges you, one of your squad mates, Ashley, puts him down, and Rex dies right there.
Yep. She shoots him and kills Rex in that moment.
I I've never had that happen to me. I am aware that if you do Rex's personal side quest to get his family armor, you can pretty much always get him to side with you.
Yes. I mean, there are ways to make sure that that doesn't happen, but it
Right.
is a possibility that you lose Rex there
But
if you have not done
I
specific
remember
things.
in between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, I was working with a guy, and we were talking about, like, oh, Mass Effect 2 is coming out. Like, I could see this person coming back. I could see this person being in your squad again. And then I was like, I could see Rex coming back. And he was like, Rex is dead. And I'm like, no, the fuck he is not. So, like, it is possible. Like, you can fail to talk him down and kill him right there. But
Yeah.
the main gist of what you tell him to talk him out of that is like, hey, you were like the Krogan were servants of the Turians and the Solarians once. Do you think Saren will be any different? And
Yeah.
he's like, that's the moment where he relents. He's like, no, we were like, we basically bent the knee and we were punished with the genophage.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think Saren would be a better overlord than anyone we had before.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the hard part for me. Like I'm such a big Rex lover that when that option presents itself, because when you're talking to Rex, there are cuts to Ashley kind of with her hand on the gun.
Yeah. She mentions it before you go talk to him, too, of like, hey, I'll be ready.
Yeah. Like, she straight up, I think, tells you she'll put him down. And
Yeah.
I remember getting so mad at that. I was like, excuse you for saying that. This is my buddy over here. I'll talk to him. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, it was, because I would never be able to forgive Ashley if she killed Rex.
And
Granted,
it's so
Rex probably would have
crazy.
killed Shepard
Yeah.
in that. Yeah, I mean, Rex was trying to kill Shepard
And
in that moment. If you can't talk him
yeah.
down, he, like, gives
It's
into his
so
rage and kills
crazy
Shepard.
because, like, even though this is the first game, there's still this moment where Rex goes, listen, you and I have been through a lot. You helped me here, you helped me here, you helped me here. Okay, I'll trust you. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's checking all of the things that you have done together and going, all right, yes, that's okay. Like, I'll trust you on this. I'll let you run point.
Yeah,
And it just makes these characters feel so much more alive.
I know. Um, yeah, so there's the big thing.
It's listen. That's not even the biggest choice you make on Virmire.
It's the biggest choice for me, Chris.
All right, well then let's talk about the other choice then.
The other small choice that you need to make on Virmire.
As you are trying to blow up this facility, as you are placing a nuke, you are given a choice between essentially you give one of your squad mates, Ashley or Caden, to the to another team to help them out. So it makes more sense that, like, for example, Ashley is with this other team helping these NPCs fight. Caden is disarming the bomb, or vice versa. It can be either way.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as you're in between these two teams, you basically get a choice that you only have time to save one of them. Basically,
Essentially,
enemies are closing in.
yeah.
You only have time and resources to be in one place at one time.
Yeah, you basically get the choice of who are you going to help? Are you going to help Caden or are you going to go help Ashley? Both of them need help. You can only go to one of them. And whichever one you go to, that other one dies.
Dies. They are gone. Because essentially the mission continues, the nuke explodes, and you don't have time to go back to save them.
Yep. So you could essentially lose 2 crew members on Virmire.
You could.
I've only ever lost to one.
Yeah. There's no way around it. You have to lose one.
You do.
So tell me about it. Who'd you pick?
It's always, I always pick Ashley as the one who stays behind and
Yeah.
gets. We just never vibe.
It's fine. I get it.
If you can't vibe with me, you can't survive on my ship.
So this choice is before you lock in the romance. So
Oh.
it was, I remember like frantically flipping through the book. I had the guidebook and going, is there some way around this? No. What are the consequences of this? And just trying to figure out everything that informed this choice. Because on the screen, it literally says, save Caden, save Ashley. Those are your
Yeah.
2 options. The screen is pretty much blank otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of weight on it. And I remember going, I really like Caden, but Ashley has an achievement for me if she stays alive.
But if I save Ashley, I get an achievement.
And also,
Well, yeah. No,
yeah,
it makes, if you're like not fully, like if you're on your way to a romance with Ashley, I understand saving Ashley. Like that
here's
makes sense.
here's the kicker. Is if you are in that situation immediately after you leave Virmire, Ashley goes, Commander, did Caden die because we have feelings for each other?
Ooh.
And, like, obviously the answer is, like, no, of course not. But, like,
No.
the fact that the game makes you think about that, I think is amazing.
That is wild because I've not, romanced Caden per se. I mean, we talked about that, but
Yeah.
like, I don't remember getting that from Caden. It's so interesting That potentially puts a lot of survivor's guilt on Ashley,
Yeah. And
which
I
is
cannot imagine being in
wow.
that position where it's like, oh, we were kind of sort of flirting and dating, and therefore my commanding officer made a choice to leave someone else to die instead of me.
And if you're not even in a committed relationship at this
Yeah.
point, it's also like, what if we don't jive? You know? Like, what if this doesn't work out? Then this guy literally died for nothing.
Listen, I know someone literally died so that we could start this relationship, but I think we should break up.
Listen, I'm just not feeling it.
Ugh.
Yikes. Whew.
And it's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much the end of the game. Because we go back from Virmire, we get locked down. They're like, "Cool, Shepard, you did it. We'll take it from here. You're grounded."
Yeah. What up with that?
Even though you've found the missing piece at the end of Virmire, you found the missing piece to go, I know where we need to go now. I know what Saren's after. He's after a planet called Ilos. So you do this lockdown step, which is essentially the game telling you, hey, finish up what you need to on the Citadel, and because this is the point of no return.
Yeah.
Then, with the help of Captain Anderson, you
Dad.
basically go rogue and leave without without the blessing of your superiors, and you jet off to Ilos. The biggest thing that happens on Ilos is you find a Prothean hologram, like a virtual intelligence, who basically explains to you all of the missing pieces. You can understand the Prothean language now because you found one of their beacons. They left that facility because it was their last bastion because they were under attack by the Reapers. So they explain, oh, the thing that Saren is looking for is there is a back door into the Citadel. Essentially, he can hit a button on the Citadel and bring all of the Reapers immediately to the most civilized part of the galaxy and immediately wipe them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like opening up the back door of our super secret base and letting the bad guys in. So, you need to get back to the Citadel.
Yep. So, race back to the Citadel.
Race back to the Citadel.
However, stuff goes down. Like, you can't even land on the Citadel because war has broken out.
Yeah, you actually you take the Mako back to the Citadel because you find a mini Mass Effect relay. And you actually don't fly back to the Citadel. You just zap right there. And it's under attack by the Geth. So you race up to the council chambers where you find Saren, who is enacting the final steps of his plan.
We forgot, before you get there, don't you have communication with the council? Who is in the air? Like, there's a bunch of ships in the air around the Citadel that are like.
There's some cutscenes of the space battle that's going on, but you don't talk to the council until after. It's actually in between stage 1 and 2 of the boss battle.
Oh, okay. My bad. I skipped.
But essentially, the council at this point, the council is trying to evacuate. They are on a ship called the Destiny Ascension, which is like the biggest flagship of the council fleet. Mm-hmm. So you show up, and Saren is trying to hit this button, essentially, which leads into this intense confrontation where, I mean, do you have anything you want to say about this? Because it's one of my favorite aspects of the game. So I could talk all day about it.
I mean, I think you need to talk because I don't remember fully, like, all the stuff that goes down here. I just know that Saren at this point looks really weird. He's very Gethified.
You point out that he is indoctrinated, basically. You're trying to convince him, like, hey, because he mentions, he's like, oh, after our last battle, I upgraded. So you don't stand a chance now. And you're basically like, you let a Reaper implant something in you? Are you crazy? And he's like, no, I'm stronger now. And this entire back and forth can lead to your character, Shepard, convincing Saren, the bad guy, to kill himself. You can basically say, you are beyond redemption, you can still help us, you know what to do. And then it immediately transitions into a cutscene of him shooting himself in the head. Which skips the first stage of the boss battle.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. I don't know if I've ever like I think I've seen like clips of it. I don't think I myself have ever like gotten to be able to convince him of it, but essentially you're able to like push through his indoctrination and get back to Saren, who technically like you really haven't met
Yeah.
because you kind of realize that
Actually, you met him on Virmire. You were fighting him right before your squad mate died.
well, right,
But you
but
don't get a chance to catch up with him.
I what I'm saying is like when you get through that indoctrination, you're talking to a Saren who you have not met because essentially since the game started, the Reaper has been in his head,
Yeah.
controlling all this. And so when you break through that indoctrination and actually talk to Saren, you're basically talking to a Saren that you've not interacted with.
Hmm.
Like, I know you've interacted with Saren. Like, I do understand
I
this.
see
But
what you're
it's,
saying.
yeah, you're getting through to, like, who he was as a person, which is everything the council has said about him before, and which is why
Hmm.
it was so hard to believe it could be him. And that's why he takes the honor bound way
Right.
and tries to kill himself to get there.
In order to do that, you have to take either the Paragon option or the Renegade option. Like the skill check option, you have to pass it every single time you speak to him. Basically, every time that option appears, you have to take that option and pass
Right.
those, quote unquote skill checks of either charming him or intimidating him.
Right.
So then we get a little break, and we get to a point where we get a choice to either. They're basically like, the council is in danger. You can either risk human lives and save the council, or you can save human lives and basically doom the council to die.
So I'll let you know what I did the first time.
Hmm.
I went with the middle option of saying, listen, I think they're gonna be okay. We gotta stay the course.
Like, I mean, we've kind of touched on this, but there are several options where inaction is just as bad as the wrong
So,
choice.
fun fact, if you choose the middle option, it's basically like picking the renegade option and saying, F the council, screw you guys. Because that's essentially what you say if you can literally say, I think the renegade option basically says, screw those guys.
Yep.
Like, leave them to die.
Hmm.
I do not care about them. And I didn't feel that strongly, but I also didn't want to divert resources to saving them either. So that's why I picked the middle option. I was like, they might be okay. They might eke it out. Fun fact, they don't eke it out.
No, they die.
If you do not go help them, the council is wiped out. They die.
And it's not like they don't blame you per se, but they're like, it's like, it was kind of because of you that they died.
It, we'll get into this in game too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of like a. I mean, you as the player know that it is your fault essentially because you made the choice to not go help them or to help them.
Correct.
So what their fate is your fault. But it is a little more in universe. It's a little more like some people fully blame Shepard and say it's Shepard's fault.
You will get confronted either way. Some people are like, you let human lives
Die for these alien
for
races.
these aliens. What the heck? And there are people who are
Yeah.
like, yeah, you doomed the council, and
You wiped out the council. Like because
you get
don't
confronted
care.
about it no matter what you
Yeah.
pick, but it's just your response on it changes.
Yeah, so then you're
Then-
like, cool, we beat Saren. Woohoo, right?
Yeah, you tell one of your squad mates, you can say, go make sure he's dead, and they actually go down and double tap him, which I find great. But it doesn't
Gotta get
matter
that double
because the Reaper, Sovereign is the Reaper's name.
Sovereign.
The Reaper essentially uses its power to puppet Saren's dead body into fighting you again.
Yeah.
He's quick, he's wily. It's a real tough fight.
It is a very tough fight. It's the final fight, so it's gotta be tough.
All the while, sometimes it'll cut to this like space battle that's going on outside. Like Sovereign is speaking through Saren, basically saying like, you haven't won, and just utterly trying to like demoralize you, taunting you the whole time. It's a fun fight. But
Yeah.
eventually, you do kill him. You win the day, and then as he's distracted from that, the entire space battle shifts, and they kill the Reaper.
Yeah. Essentially, you're basically with your fight with Saren, you and with Sovereign controlling Saren, you're basically essentially kind of distracting Sovereign while the space battle takes care of like his body
Yeah,
because he's a big spaceship. It basically takes care of his body while you're like distracting him like his mind
yeah.
type thing.
And I think
So,
it's such a cool thing because like even the animation on Saren at that point, it doesn't feel like he's not moving like Saren. Like he is
mhm.
like his arms kind of dangle, like the lower
He's
half of his jaw is gone. Like he seems like a puppet on every level, and it was a very
mhm.
clever like setup, I think.
Saren gets taken care of. Well, you finish the fight, you beat Saren the second time, and
Mhm.
then the space battle takes over, takes care of Sovereign, and you get Reaper foot falls on you.
Yeah, they make you think that Shepard's dead for a solid like minute.
Yeah.
Like even your squad mates are starting to mourn you because they're like, "Where's Shepard?" And they're like just shaking their head, and they're like leaving the chamber. They're like, "All right, I guess he's gone." And then you
Very
come,
mournfully though, they all
yeah,
are sad
yeah,
that you're gone.
very
Like,
much so. And then you come triumphantly bounding up with a playful smirk on your face,
yeah,
victorious though injured.
yeah,
And then you get to. Okay, so if you have saved the council talks to you and says, "Thank you for saving us. That was real cool of you.
that's a real cool move, boss move, man.
We would like to put a human on the council. Shepard, who would you want to put on the council?" And you
Hmm.
get the choice between the politician, Udina, and the military man, Captain Anderson.
Yeah,
If you did not save the council, then you basically have a powwow with the three of you going, listen, we need a new council. We should put a human on that council. Who do you want it to be?
yeah,
Which is a little more messed up, but it's also a little bit
a
more
little bit.
realistic.
Yeah.
But you get to choose between Udina and Anderson,
Yep.
which I don't know if I've ever known anyone who's picked Udina.
Listen, we have not talked about Udina. I don't like Udina. He is a typical politician,
I think yeah,
and I
let's
say that in the negative connotation.
yeah. I think at least in the first game or two, Udina is kind of a necessary evil.
I mean, he's necessary. I mean, he's a politician.
He's
He knows how
he's
to
a
talk.
politician and a bureaucrat. He's the one who's like trying to maneuver humanity into a better position. He
Yes.
just thinks it's done by wheeling and dealing.
And
Whereas
the
like
issue is that anytime like you interact with him, he's yelling at you because he's
yeah,
like, "You're ruining everything
you're
for us
making problems
humans."
for me.
Like, I have to deal with the crap that you just put me in, and brr,
I
brr, brr,
think
brr,
I
brr,
think he
brr.
kind of goes off the rails in the third one, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
We'll get there when we get there.
But I do think that he's like almost a necessary evil of like, listen, I'm down here, I'm shoveling the shit. I'm trying to go through the motions and get us there through the political channel, essentially.
Yeah.
Then you have Captain Anderson, who is in every way a mentor to your character. He is
So
believing in
much.
you. He's like, go Shepard, finish the work I never could. And they're like, hey, do you want this guy who yells at you all the time, or do you want your father figure? Which one should we pick?
It's like, huh, hard sell. So yeah, you always pick Anderson.
My favorite little tidbit about that choice is they fixed this in the Legendary Edition in the remaster, but in the first Mass Effect 1 and 2, one of the first questions they ask you in Mass Effect 2 is to quote unquote test your memory. Who did you pick to be on the council? And it's because the original Mass Effect 1 made the save file when Saren died.
Oh,
And you make the council choice after that. So in that moment in Mass Effect 2, they're literally asking you, who did you pick?
yeah.
But they
You're
mix it
like,
in with a bunch of other questions of like, oh, we're testing your memory. It's not that big a deal.
yep. Funny. So yeah, it basically ends, and that's basically the end of the game,
Yeah,
with you knowing that the Reapers are out there.
and that's such a cool ending too, because they're like, we won the day, congrats, we can kick back now. And your character is like, no, we're not done here. The Reapers are still out there, and I'm gonna find them. And you turn and walk out of there like a boss.
Yeah.
And
And
it's very
the
much a
big
call
thing
to
is,
action.
well, because like you had this epic thing, so many people died, like you potentially lost the entire council
Yeah,
with one Reaper.
with one of them. And
With
they're like,
one.
there's thousands out there. As far as we know,
Yeah.
we don't know how many there
So,
are, but a lot of them.
but they tried to open up a door to let them all in,
Yeah.
and one was hard. We gotta be ready for the others. Yeah. So, and that's Mass Effect,
And
the
that's Mass
first
Effect.
game.
We did it
Woohoo! We did
completely
it.
in a bizarre order because we're so excited to talk about Mass
Listen,
Effect that we can't keep our story straight.
listen, it's hard. We want to talk about everything
We
and
do.
anything and everything we want to talk about, and it makes it hard to stick to a timeline.
Stop everything. There's one thing we forgot to talk about that we need to talk about.
Oh no.
That
Is it
is
Conrad Werner?
no. It's Joker. It's Jeff Joker Moreau, our
Oh,
pilot.
okay. Listen, I realized that we didn't talk about Joker, but I thought the next one would be a really great place to really dive into him.
Okay.
But we can talk about Jeff.
We can talk about him a little bit.
Let's talk about him a little bit.
Joker
Joker,
is your pilot.
he's your pilot.
He's voiced by Seth Green, which is basically his normal talking voice.
Hmm.
He's kind of a jokester. Uh,
His name, he's a Joker. That's why he's called Joker. That's why he has the name he has.
that's actually not why he's called Joker. Fun
Is
fact.
it not? Oh my
No,
god.
he's called Joker because he had an incredibly serious demeanor through Flight Academy, and it's because he has brittle bones syndrome. So he had to
No.
work twice as hard to be successful than everyone else. So
Hmm.
he's a jokester now, he's living up to his name, but at the time, it was because he was deadly serious.
Okay. Well, good for him for seeing the joy in the world. Joker's one of my favorite characters. He's one of my favorite non-crew member. Like, well, he's
Yeah.
part of your crew squad.
Yeah, he's
He's
not on your squad. You can't
he's
take him
not
on
your
missions.
squad member, but you can go chat with him. You can talk to him,
Mm,
and he's a good buddy.
yeah.
So we like Joker in this household.
Yeah.
So
And that's Mass Effect.
that is Mass Effect. We were super excited. Hopefully, you were able to follow along and enjoyed it. We will have a better outline for the
Yeah.
next one, we promise. Um, but if there's any topics in the Mass Effect world you want us to talk about,
Ooh, yeah.
please let us know.
Very
If
much so.
there's we would be more than happy to dedicate an episode to talk. So we don't have like these epic long episodes. We could do a shorter episode talking about specific details. Dedicate episodes talking to like specific characters.
Yeah, we
If
could
we
do
just
like
want to do
an
deep dives
episode.
on them.
We could do an episode on like Garrus. We could do an
Yeah.
episode on the genophage. We could do like there's lots in this universe that we love talking about.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if there's anything that you found interesting, please let us know. Also, feel free to like leave comments. Would love to know comments on what people think. Who did you guys leave on Virmire?
yeah, I'm really
That's a great
curious to
question.
know like what like the general consensus of
Yeah.
that choice is.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to I really want to see your guys' responses.
Yeah, so please let us know. And then, last thing before signing off, we just want to say thank you to one of our Extra Life donors. To those that might not know, if the only are doing is listening to our podcast, is that Chris and I are participating in Extra Life. It is this great It's not really. Would you call it a program?
Yeah, it's a fundraising program
There you go.
that works through Children's Miracle Network, where basically go around saying, "Hey, come donate to Extra Life," kind of like you're sponsoring something like that. Basically, you can donate through us, and 100% of that money goes to children's hospitals, which we think is a cause worth supporting.
Yes. So We have been doing some streams on our YouTube channel, The Couple That Slays Together. Feel free to go check that out. But we just want to say thank you to one of our Extra Life donors, Pam Lafine. Thank you very much for the generous donation there.
Yes, that
We
is
really appreciate it.
one of our incentives. If you want to donate a generous amount, you can suggest a podcast topic. You can also, if you donate a certain amount, you can also get a shout out, just like Pam did here today.
Yes.
Also, those live streams, we are doing some Mass Effect ones, since we're on the subject of Mass Effect. Kelsey's
Yeah.
trying to do her Renegade playthrough.
Yes, and I'm doing it on camera so everyone can see my anguish over making these mean choices.
She has to have her emotional support Garrus Stuffy with her.
I do. My
And
bestie needs to be
I
with me.
also loaded that up with a bunch of mods that Kelsey has no idea about, so that's fun too.
Yes, so feel free to check those out. That's on our YouTube, which will be linked in the description. But yeah, otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed your time with us. If you like our podcast and want to keep hearing it, please leave a like and subscribe. It feels so weird asking for those things, but
But we really do appreciate it.
we do appreciate it.
And we appreciate you.
We do. It's so great. All right. We're going to go because this is already going on a lot longer
Yeah,
than we
it's a long
probably
one.
thought it was going to. But thanks for sticking with us, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.